Mesiah Daf Nun He Amud Aleph, 28 lines down. Mishnah mentioned that there's a fraud if you do 4 out of 24, 1/6. Now the question is, Tanina Hada Zimna. We already learned it earlier in the Masechet. Ha'ona price fraud. Ha'ba'a kesef mesim ba'aba kesef selash. Tut lemeka. A six of the purchase. Why we mentioned it again? Mishnah says, the Gemara says, okay, it's true. We didn't need to mention it, but we mentioned it because we mentioned others. Hatanash te kesef hoda'ash te kesef peruta. Reason why you mentioned is because we wanted to mention the second part. The second part, that is, if chayav for a shivua, only if it's two or the admission is one peruta. That's what we repeated the price for. Now the problem is the hanamitin that we already know that somewhere else. Shivuat dainin, the swearing of a judge, is only given. The claim is for 2 silver ma'ot, or the hoda'ah, the admission is for 1 peruta. So we say, okay, this is also mentioned for something else. So we're pushing this off to something else. Seifa tzrich l'diktani hamesh perutot, and we wanted to teach it because we're mentioning the 5 different types of perutot, and that's why we had to mention it. Okay, hamesh perutot. We said mention the 5 different cases of peruta. How come we don't mention the case of price fraud regarding a peruta? Right? So how come we don't mention that? This teaches you that must be that there's no price fraud applying where the price is only in perutot. Levi does not say that. There is an onat peruta. He also had in his braita Hamesh Prutani, a different list, and we're going to explain why our list is different than his list. Ha'ona Peruta, the first one is there's a law of fraud by a Peruta. Without Peruta, the admission of a Shivua is chayav only by a Shivua, by a Peruta. Peruta, you can marry a woman with Peruta. Because the Peruta, if that's the Peruta, V'yeshivot Le'enim Peruta, also Betin will only sit down for something that's worth a Peruta. Now we're going to compare and contrast between our Mishnah and Levi's Braita's lists. My time I look at Yeshiva, and how come our Braitana did not mention the case that Betin only sits down for Peruta or more? Or I said, no, Tana the Gezel mentioned by Gezel, the fact that you only sit down for a theft case, if it's worth a Peruta, we learn the same thing. We also had, we mentioned Gezel, that it's worth only that amount. And we also mentioned Abedah, a lost item. So both things seemingly teach you that the minimum amount for a court case is peruta. So how come you mentioned the bedin? We didn't mention both. The Gezel regarding theft, he wanted to teach you. Someone stole peruta, worth of item from his friend and swore falsely. You take it and follow him and return it to him personally, no matter where he is. Regarding lost property, teaching you someone finds lost object worth of peruta, to announce it, even if the price drops afterwards. So if it was worth $10 and it dropped in value, you still have to announce it. How come Levi's list is different? How come did they mention that a lost object has to be returned only if it's worth a peruta or more? Gemara says, we learned from the fact that it mentioned theft. Okay, but you mentioned theft and you mentioned the judges only sit down. So Gemara says, they didn't teach you that because to exclude Rav Katina. The Amar Rav Katina told us the Amar Bedin is kakin. I feel Bedin has to listen to claims even for less than a pruta. Big hitush. So therefore, we have to exclude him from with our halacha. My time Hekdesh. How come Levi did not mention Hekdesh? Gemara says Behulin Kamari is only talking about the non-Hekdesh properties. Bekachim lo Kamari, we didn't mention Hekdesh, but in Chanami be applying the same. Other time the Kamari Bekachim, how come if our Braita has, if our Mishnah mentioned Hekdesh, how come we mention Maaser also? It can't be redeemed if it's worth under Peruta. Our Mishnah, according to the opinion that Maaser Sheni is not eligible to be redeemed if its fifth is not worth Peruta. So if it's under Peruta, you definitely can't do it. Okay, at least teaches that Maaser Sheni can't be redeemed unless the fifth of it is Maaser, of the fifth of it is worth a Peruta. Where it says, we're not going to start bringing down in our list about Perutot in regarding to a fifth of Maaser Sheni. We're mentioning the actual items, the principles of items. Okay, Gufa. We said earlier, he said, she mentioned that Betin will sit down even for items worth less than a Sheva Pruta. Rabbi, I have a question. That which a person has used hekdesh item, he shall pay. So let's see. Nun he amud bet. This teaches you a lesson of Shabbat Prutan regarding to returning. You're chayav for me'ilah. Lekodesh in, I will hejit lo. We only see it by hekdesh. Less than Shabbat Prutan is legit, but for other people it's not. So against Rav Katina, that you would not sit down for under Shabbat Prutan. So Gemara explains Rav Katina differently. Ela I etmar hachi etmar. Mara Katina husku betin Shabbat Prutan. If Betin sat down for a court case worth a piruta, the guy can bring another case against the plaintiff worth under shana piruta. He could bring upon another one. However, Katina would agree that you don't start a new court case solely on and under shana piruta. Okay. Mishnah, Hamisha Humshin, and there are 5 types of fifths of charges, fees. Elohim, these are the 5. Auchel Trumas of a non-coin, a Teruma, he has to pay back the Teruma plus 20%. Utrumat Maaser, same thing as Trumat Maaser. Trumat Maaser Demai, also Trumat Maaser of Demai. Trumat Maaser Demai is Safek. Trumat Maaser in general is the Levi gives part of his Teruma to the Kohen. So if someone ate the Demai, the Safek of that, also. Hala, also Chala, but Bikurim, also Bikurim. Bikurim is the first fruit supposed to bring up to the Kohen. If you ate that, you have to pay 20% as well. Mostly Chomesh has to add a fifth in all these cases. That is 20% of each. Also, someone's redeeming his netar of his 4th year of fruits. Right? Technically, it's asur. You have to eat a new shleim or redeem it. So if you are redeeming it, you'd have to add 20%. So to maaser sheni, same thing. Mostly Chomesh, you also pay 20% fee. Someone's redeeming his own hekdesh item. Mosif Chomesh, he also adds 20%. So if you made his car hekdesh and he wants to redeem it, you add 20% to the value. If someone benefits from hekdesh, at least a worth, Mosif Chomesh pays 20% fee. Someone robs his friend, at least the worth of a Shabbat item. Then he's bound and he swore falsely that he stole it, and then he's caught. Mosif Chomesh pays 20% fee. Marava. Kasha Rabbi Lazar Trumat Maaser Shel Demai. Rabbi Lazar ben Pedat did not understand why a non-Kohen has to pay 20% fee for the Trumat Maaser of Demai. Demai is a Safek case. Why are you paying a fee for that? Hachamim who say don't have it because it's Safek, they're going to take the fee that the Torah gave for a Doraita Trumat Maaser and make it as if the Drabanan is a Doraita, as if it's a Doraita that you could charge a fee even on the case of Drabanan. That doesn't make sense. Maran Nachman Rashmuel Hamani, actually, who's Mishnah according to Rabbi Meir holds that you do that. Amar Rasu Hamim Yechuzil of Torah. Hachamim say, if you go against what Hachamim say, it's as if you went against the Torah, and therefore they can have that power. Tanya Bertha says, Hamavi giving that yam, then I throw back to Masechet Gitin. Shliach has to bring a get from overseas and give it to the woman. So when he brings the get to the woman, he has to say, since he came overseas, he has to testify that it was a legit get. He says, in front of me it was written, in front of me it was given, which is his way of saying it's a legit get. Hachamim said he has to do this. If he didn't do it, Yotzi Vavan Mamzer, she has to get divorced, and if they had a child already, she is a mamzer. That child is mamzer. Did Meir holds that? Because what should he do if he didn't make it? If he didn't announce it, take it back. Give it in front of 2 people. Then say it again. Say it in front of them. Just redo it. You don't have to take her and to tell the mamzer. But according to Meir, how can he say that's a mamzer? Mar says in Rabbi Meir holds like that. Amar of Hamnuna Mashmede Ula. Omer Meir used to say, whoever goes against the way Hachamim said you have to do it by Gitin, the child is mamzer. So we see, like Rameir holds generally, especially by Gitin, that if you go against what the Hachamim say, it's as if it's a Doraita. So now, Mativ Rav Sheshet. Rav Sheshet said, hold on a second. We have a Braita that says, Mishnah that says that you can take silver coins and transfer them to other silver coins. Nechoshet on nechoshet. Take copper coins and transfer the hekdesh onto other Maaser Sheni coins. Right, so Maaser to Maaser Sheni. Demai. Kesef on nechoshet, silver to copper, and nechoshet al pirot, and copper to fruits. The Yahzor v'yivdei al pirot, and then you can also redeem the fruits again using other coins. Divrei Rabbi Meir. Rachamim say, Ya'alu pirot v'yachlu b'Yerushalayim, you bring it out to Yerushalayim and eat it there. So now, We see but by Maaser Shani over there, very lenient in of Demai. Maaser Shani Demai is referring to Safek Maaser Shani. All those we mentioned are very lenient. They're able to transfer up the funds. Can you transfer silver coins Maaser Shani onto copper? About the Mishnah. If you have a silver coin of Maaser Shani and a non-silver, non-Maaser Shani coin mixed up, maybe bring another coin of copper, and you say, wherever the silver Ma'aser Shani is on, transfer onto these. You take the better coins and you bring it as the new copper Ma'aser Shani. So, because Hachamim said, you can transfer the silver coins in a case of need. Like over here, you have a case of Safek. Not that it should be like this. You're not transferring because you want to transfer into copper. So you're just transferring to the copper just so you take out the safek of what coins which because you lost, and then you transfer it afterward. So we see that you have to transfer from copper to silver, even though you already transferred it to copper because you're not supposed to do it. So regardless, we see Shmuel holds that you're allowed to transfer it in general from copper to copper, either way, in cases of need. Only when you need it, but not when not. But we see, however, that Hachamim are more lenient in case of Drabanan by Demai. By Dorat, you can't do that. In case of regular Masashni, you can't do that. So how come they allowed it over here by the Demai? Must be because it's more lenient against Rameir. It's true. By Rameir is lenient by redeeming, but by eating, he's more Mahmir that you'll still pay the 20%. Titania, lo atiru lemkor demai elo lesitun bilvad. Hachamim did not allow wholesalers to sell demai without first taking off maaser, because we assume that they're buying it from people who are amar aris, who do not do it, and therefore they're reselling it to people. You have to take off maaser. But regarding a regular guy selling to people in his neighborhood, for example, a single retailer, ben kach or ben kach maaser, he always has to sell. He always take off maaser before selling it. Give it a year. Chachamim say echad hasiton echad habayit. Chachamim say whether it's a retailer or a wholesaler, mocher v'sholeach l'chavro v'notin lo matana, he can sell the may or give it to his friend. Ve'enach choshesh, don't worry about it not being changed maaser. So we see that a mayor is more machmir when he is selling something for eating, but not by, we said earlier, by redeeming. So we see that he's machmir by food, by eating. Matzil Ravina, I have a question. Someone's buying several loaves of bread from a baker who's an amaretz. You can separate maaser from the hot to the cold and the cold to the hot. Even if the breads are different shapes, meaning the different molds, seemingly different like skews, different types. You have a sesame bagel and you have a baguette. So now we're going to explain why that's significant. Based on that, makes sense why you're able to separate yesterday's cold for today's hot, even though yesterday's is colder is worse. Famous concept. How do I know that how do I know that I'm allowed to take inferior product as teruma for superior product? I have bad stuff and good stuff. How can I know that I can remove the teruma chiyuv off of all of it via the bad one for the good one? I'm taking the cold one is the maaser for the good one. How do I know that works? Because the pasuk says, you will not have a sin when you take off the maaser. So we see if it doesn't work by taking off bad stuff, would be the sin? Rather much teach you. We see that if you take off bad product for good product, it is considered a good truma. It's just better not to because it's not kavod. So that's why we know that the rabbi said you could take cold to hot because it works, even though it's bad to good. Now, how would we allow you to take off different types of breads for the others? The sesame for the baguette, for example. And we are talking about breads, and we just started Pesach. Maybe if it's different breads from different people, he bought the sesame from the bagel guys, and he bought the baguette from the baguette guys. Maybe one of them took off maaser, and therefore when he's separating already maaser bread from bread that did not do maaser, and it doesn't work at all. In fact, you're doing the opposite. You didn't accomplish anything. Or vice versa. So how come Rameir is not concerned by it? Does that mean Rameir is not stringent by the right Rabbanans? What do you mean? I thought we're machmir by Demai. Abai says, hold on a second. Rabbi Lazar Shapir Kakashila, Rabbi Lazar asked a good question from our Mishnah. Ushmu Lok Shapir Kamishan the Bishmu did not answer him a good question. What does it mean? The Kashila Bazar Mitabade Shemaim. The Bazar had a question regarding Mitabade Shemaim in regarding to the Terumot stuff. That's the case of Karet, right? Eating Terumot is Karet. He asked some question from there. He answered him with something more powerful of Mitab Bedin, of cases of Arayot, regarding the case of divorce. So then the problem with that is that's not a good answer because maybe Bedin were more machmir by the get. Rameir is more machmir over there because it's a get, and that's mamzerim, and Bedin is machmir by Arayot. But Rav Sheshet's question to Shmuel is not a good one. The kamre ihnu mita, because they were asking him about the gitin. And he answered him a question by knocking him out with maaser sheni question, which is just the lav. Ketiv lo tuchal le'achol b'sharecha. Umay the motiv of Sheshet Rav Sheshet Shapir Kamashani. But Rav Sheshet's question, Yosef answered correctly when he answered that redemption, redeeming it from coin to coin is lenient, but eating it is machmir. That's true. So we had a problem in the beginning. He answered it at the end, and the middle is still smushy. However, Ravina ad the motiv menachtom. When Rav Yosef, instead of translating Rav Yosef, who said that eating it demai is more strict from the case of the baker, let's bring him a proof from the case of a wholesaler. Someone buys loaves of bread from the wholesaler, distributor of bread. Min kol defus. He has to bring maaser from each type of bread, all different type of molds of bread. Baguettes onto baguettes, bagels onto bagels. Each type needs a separate maaser. And divrei Meir, and these are the words of Meir. So we see the Meir is mahmir by demai. So the Gemara says it's true. Now we can explain everything smoothly right now. A wholesaler who's buying different breads and different styles of breads, it's true. He's buying each thing from different people, and therefore he can make bagels onto bagels, baguettes onto baguettes as separate maasers because it's from different people, and it will work from one to the next. You're not worried about what one to the next because each line of product is from someone else. So if maaser was already taken off, it means nothing. If maaser was not taken off, it'll work now. In the baker, he buys from a single person. And that's why, even though it's different SKUs, different types, the bagels to baguettes, it will still work because it's still from the same person. Rav Amar says, Shmuel Shapir Kamishanli. Shmuel answered the question well, because as long as the death penalty still exists, it still exists, which means Shmuel doesn't care. We had this question, how can you bring a question from Terumah, which is Mitab Bet Shemayim Karet, and you answer me Mitab Bedin, which is Arayot of the woman with the get. You can't compare. Shmuel Rav says a completely different answer. He says, no, what's the problem? Mitah is mitah. Isur is isur, I don't care. We'll stop here. Amen.